got behind with our finances, and so we were unable to pay our rent in full. So we ended up getting a notice to come to court to hopefully try to resolve our finances with our landlord. We were at a close point of getting evicted. We were able to work some sort of payments with him. I had a Navigator, and so it was kind of more understanding from there. I don't know much of the court and the big words, and having a Navigator in there helped us out understanding the legal process.
The Navigators are volunteers that were recruited from the Senior Citizen Center, and as people work through the legal process, they realize how expensive it can get, whether that's filing an answer or trying to speak with an attorney. The Navigators strictly want to help people get through the eviction process as quickly as possible, and they're able to listen and help people identify what they're trying to accomplish and give court-related information on the most efficient way to reach their goal.
You're here for both of them, and you represent the court only as a volunteer. You're not a mediator, you're not an attorney, and so it's been a learning experience.
When I was a district court judge, I spent a lot of time working in the domestic relations courtrooms where we handle divorce and child custody cases. And often in those cases, we would see people come in pro se or representing themselves. And so we often found ourselves trying to think of how do we help people get through this system if we can't afford to hire lawyers for all of them. And what I noticed as a domestic relations judge is often, despite the fine work of those folks, people would get in the courtroom and they would still feel lost. And so we started looking to programs that were running in other communities, particularly in New York State. They had this Navigators program. The idea was to actually provide some assistance from non-lawyer volunteers in the courtroom. That is what we decided we would try to emulate. Adams County has graciously agreed to provide one of the pilot programs, and they focused on landlord-tenant.
These cases come up every morning. We handle about 500 eviction cases where both sides are self-represented, no lawyers involved. And out of those 500 cases, about 75% of those are resolved with the assistance of the Navigators. 5 days a week, the Navigators are always here. There are 3 of them. They are very, very dependable. They're very, very hardworking, and they work with all those persons.
As a Navigator, I feel my goal is to see if I can make a difference to both of those parties, to smooth it out so that they can work out an arrangement they both can live with. If you're willing to just be a good listener and to facilitate a conversation in a calm manner and try and find out what the facts are from both sides, that's what's necessary.
Whenever the parties come together and they become aware of that information from a landlord and a tenant perspective, a resolution is likely because you're able to figure out what people really want, and it's in a setting that is not as consequential as being in front of a judge.
Often we're discovering in Adams, people reach stipulations that are considered a win-win by the parties involved. And it ends up being a win-win-win because the courts also are able to operate their dockets more efficiently.
The cases that the Navigators settle never get to me as judge. And the court cannot put itself in a posture or position of appearing to help one side over another. And that becomes difficult when you're dealing with a circumstance where one party may have a lawyer, the other side does not. There's really a need for that service, and they provide that need.
We've seen a high number, close to 30% of the cases that the Navigators have worked with, the landlords and the tenants have reached an agreement to continue their lease. In other words, the tenant is allowed to continue to live in the property, and their issues that brought them to court are actually resolved without having to go in front of a judge.
When you're a tenant and a landlord, it tends to get kind of tense, and at the heat of the moment, you really don't have nobody on your side, and so it's helpful to have somebody that's actually behind you and going to support you and make you understand the actual laws from a landlord's point of view and why things have to take place. So it was very helpful. Moving forward, we'll be having a stable payment plan as well that will be able to help me out financially to not end up in this predicament again.
From the landlord's perspective, I know what I'm doing here. However, I think having the third party in the room to help with the tenants understanding that the information I am providing them is accurate. I think that third party and that navigator being in the room to help understand some of those legal things that the tenants who don't do this daily don't understand, I think that'll really be the biggest benefit for the program.
I'm very pleased that we've launched this innovative program to resolve landlord-tenant disputes without going to trial. I am very appreciative of the work done by our outstanding volunteer navigators. I'm looking forward to expanding this program in the future.
Our hope is that we can get volunteers for this program in different pockets of the state and have it fashioned in a way that makes sense in the particular community that it's trying to serve. On our building here, we see Justice for All inscribed. We think so much about the importance of justice for all. This program helps to give life to those words that we see inscribed in our buildings.
I really enjoy the challenges here. I had never thought the courts would have a volunteer program. So I checked it out and thought it would be something I could work with. I wanted to do something in my free time after retirement, and working at the senior centers worked out real well, but I really enjoy the challenges here too.